I spent the last 5 years trying to build my business up like I was tending to my garden. And if you've seen some of the videos in the past with my garden and the backyard, it's a mess. And I saw a video this morning that kind of put it all into perspective. So that's what I'm thinking about today. So what's going on? I came across this video on TikTok where they were talking about a CAP theorem from computer science, and I don't know very much about computer science. I didn't study it, it's not my background. But basically, it was a triangle that showed the relationship between something that's fast, something that's stable, and something that's big and complex. And I was taking a look at this, and they were talking in like in reference to what's going on in the world right now. And for me, in my world, I'm realizing that, like this is really interesting because if I look at that triangle, what I've been trying to do in this business is start somewhere really big and complicated and do it really quickly. Now, sure, in like mentally, and maybe this is just my own approach to things, I'm thinking that I know that I can build something really big. I want to do that. I want to have that eventually and do it really quickly. But that's really not how things grow. That's not how things start. It's if I think like from this perspective now, like take a step back and think about it, it's like, oh, that really doesn't make sense. Like, how am I going to make this really big, complicated thing and then make money, make a business, offer something valuable really quickly? It's probably very difficult to conceptualize for somebody like you watching this. So then I recently I took 2 days off of making these videos um, because it just felt like the right thing to do. I wasn't feeling, I just kind of felt like I had nothing to say, and that's okay. That break time actually gave me some space to then go and do something different. Um, Over the last number of years, I've done a lot of learning. I've done a lot of like reading and studying and all of this, a lot of like mental work. So, going to classes, watching online courses, and reading books. And that's all like consumption in some way. Because there's not a lot of necessarily creation in that other than like creation of like mental thoughts, which is okay. In some ways, it makes it real in a mental sense, but it's not real in the physical world. So then what happened was I took some time off. Recently, like I've been talking about needing to do something, like actually like go out there and do something. And I really didn't know what that was. So then I took my learning into more of a practical sense, which was I started to look at my garden again. It's something that's been kind of like in the back of all of our minds, like everybody in this household, of like how to get this garden kind of up and running so that it's more pleasant to spend time in. It's overgrown, it has weeds. Like if you've seen again like the videos, I can't remember what days they are. And I would say that I'll put them down in the links, but I'm not because I haven't. And also you, I believe, are very resourceful. If you really wanted to see it, you could just scroll through my channel and it's in the thumbnails. You can find it. So I was starting to get back into gardening, and I found a YouTube channel called Anne of All Trades, and I really loved what she was doing. She was basically looking at how the forest um, deals with ground cover and growth, and using that as a natural system to replicate in her own garden. And basically, the way that she put it down or explained it was so simple that from a principle perspective, it's like, okay, now I know some of the building blocks that that I need to put in place. Because previously, my approach would have been, I just need dirt, water, and sunlight, and seeds. So then we did that for a number of years, but really, like the missing piece was just understanding like what was in the soil. And I think that kind of speaks in some ways to that, like trying to do something fast and then big and complicated, because it definitely wasn't stable. We'd put the plants in and then nothing would happen. I built a like a planter, a raised planter bed. I filled it with dirt. The whole thing was kind of like big and complex. I bought a huge bag of dirt. I filled up this large container, put plants, and they didn't really grow. And I couldn't understand why. I thought it was because of the sun and because of this or that. But really, the soil wasn't ready. Like the most basic thing to create stability, it wasn't ready. So then I went out and started like working on this and realizing that oh, like there are like certain ingredients that I need to put into the ground, and that some of these things will take time, like to regenerate or kind of amend the soil is what it's called, adding nutrients and putting back in the microorganisms and creating space. It's curious to think, like one of the things that I learned from those videos was that there's a whole system, a whole network of um, like it's a whole ecosystem under dirt. Like healthy soil has bacteria and fungi and mycelium and all of these different like networks that, and then like bugs and earthworms and all of that that create and turn the soil, and it all can kind of like work naturally. It takes time to grow. So yesterday I went to the local hardware store and bought a couple bags of compost and a couple bags of mulch. And I started laying this out and then watering it. One thing that I realized that I kind of noticed was that I was trying to water and wet the bed. Not like I'm not trying to wet my bed, but I was trying to wet the soil. And I was watering it for some time, and I realized that the water wasn't like sinking past the top layer for whatever reason. And it was curious because, water makes things wet, right? But then when I'm like watering this thing, I would dig under the surface and it still wouldn't be wet. And I paused and, I went to look up a little bit, and it could be due to drainage or compacted soil and all of these things. But maybe it just takes time, right? Like it took time for all of that soil that's sitting in the sun to evaporate all the moisture out of it and to get really, really dry. We bought a couple plants maybe 2 weeks ago and planted them into this planter. And looking at them yesterday before I was watering and setting up the soil, like we've been watering the plants, but it wasn't like the plants still looked like they were wilting. And we couldn't understand why. It's like, okay, soil, water, sun, plants grow. And it turns out that probably the soil just wasn't holding enough water, and because we didn't have any like a compost layer, there wasn't any nutrients, there wasn't a mulch layer that kept the water in the ground. So this isn't a gardening video. I'm just like teaching you or just sharing with you what I've learned and what I'm implementing. And just it made me realize that these things just take time. Like if I don't know if it's possible to skip steps. Like you can skip steps, but then you end up building something that's fast and big, and then that is not reliable because it can't be stable. So it's almost like always chasing and always chasing. So then turning that, like just reflecting before starting this, I was thinking, how does this reflect onto the work that I'm doing here with this business? And I have, I guess I have some feels about calling it a business because then it feels like I'm sitting here and saying, hey, like, give me money, give me money. But it's more to understand, and maybe let me rewind because I was curious, like, in a business environment, what's the soil? In this, like, entrepreneur, like this thing that I'm doing, I'm like, what's the soil? And I was thinking of like the customers, the people, the knowledge, and all of this. Uh, but really, the soil, part of that is me. Part of me that is me. Getting clear on the parts that can nourish this environment has to come from me. It's like I'm the foundation that where everything's coming up from. So if people don't have access to it, if my thoughts are scattered, if I'm like interjecting too many things, maybe it's like just like really weedy and um, not nutritious enough for others to consume, which makes sense because like I approach starting this series very much like I started working on the garden. Like, oh, I just need these couple things. I just need a light, a camera, and myself, and like a microphone, and then let's go. We got this. And it's not to say that like I haven't gotten the results that I've wanted because I started this out saying that I understand that the results um, may take time, you know, and it kind of does take time. Part of what all of this process is, uh, and I think that this is the way that it kind of works out for me is to um, do research and then do some things the wrong way, struggle through it, and then figure it out and correct. So I'm in this phase of getting ready to amend my soil, because what has happened before is like I have done some of that work to clarify kind of my like who I am, what I do, and sometimes I think that it just it hasn't sunk in the way that I guess it's taking some time to seep into, I don't know, like my brain or my being of how to like present, what to present in this. One of the things that I'm feeling and that I'm struggling with is that there's like so much good information that I want to share with you. And one of the one of the reasons that I want to start working with individuals is to find, because when there's feedback, it's much easier to give the right pieces. So learning from this side, it's almost like to understand which parts are like unique and nourishing and nutritious to this kind of ecosystem that I'm building. What are the inputs that I need to put into me so that they can kind of express out, so that it becomes available, so others can take root into this content. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. The other thing that I've kind of reflected on is before I was like talking for some time, just kind of like really rambling and talking not about very much, or talking about a lot of things in a short amount of time. And that can kind of get overwhelming. And I'm like, I was reflecting because my videos show up on my YouTube, on my television, and I'm like, would I sit and watch this? And I probably wouldn't, not in that context. So part of it is like thinking how this format needs to then evolve. Like what is the, I don't know, I'm still working through this, but how will this evolve in the next little while to make, um, like, where do I want to show up? Like, who's going to be watching these videos? Is it somebody that's sitting on their couch? Um, and like, is this the right format? Maybe this like right on format isn't the best, like a talking head type of thing. Uh, I feel like the way that I communicate is a little bit more casual, and I'm also not doing a lot of heavy edits, so it's just kind of like staring at my face the whole time. So like audio and like podcasts, like really listening and consuming in that way might be a better way, to just kind of like sit and let all of this wash over. So that's my reflection for today. It's all still kind of percolating. And at the same time, it's given me a little bit of excitement again to come back into this and start to kind of think about what's next. I took 2 days off, so I'm going to do a couple catch-up videos, because before I was thinking of doing things once a day, like and being consistent, and there came a point where that just didn't feel right. So that pause not only allowed me to have this reflection. um, the other thing that I'll talk about in a subsequent video is vision boarding and future planning, and I'll talk about my journey with that. So until that time, and I still need to sign off. So these are some of the things that I need to start to amend into my own soil, into myself, so that it comes out a little bit more naturally. Thank you for being here with me today. I appreciate your time and attention. I'll see you in the ether.